Where did you go?
So I went to FLCC, Finger Lakes Community College.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I went for sound engineering as well, but I went to like a trade school.
True.
The recording workshop, and that was in 2007. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah. It was. I mean, I didn't really do anything with it.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I went and it's a 2-year school, so it's not like a huge 4-year degree. It's not like Full Sail or any one of those ones down in Florida or Fredonia, right? But it's like I just took the classes that I wanted to, because I took all the music classes and stuff, but they wanted you to take science and math and stuff, and I was like, I'm not going to use that.
Yeah.
I don't care about math and science and history.
Yeah.
And then here I am.
Yeah. That is one thing I was fortunate about with the school is like it was 2 months. And you were in the studio or the classroom like 12 hours a day.
Right.
But it was people from like all over the country came to this tiny, tiny, tiny town, Chillicothe, Ohio.
Wow.
It had the most buffet restaurants per capita. Like, I mean, seriously, like there was like one main strip and there was like 10 buffet restaurants on it.
Fantastic.
There was a Mead paper mill was like its big, employer and all that. Have you been to Chillicothe, Ohio before? Really?
That is random.
crazy.
That is awesome.
Yeah, Chillicothe sucks. With their processing the paper, it smells like poopy broccoli. Whenever the plant's
Very
running,
specific.
yeah,
Awesome.
it smells disgusting. And I mean, that was like just after Katrina had happened, right? So we had, I mean, some of the people that I was like friends with in the school were like guys from Houston who were, like just gone through that, and they had like money to like go to school and stuff.
Right.
And then I had this guy from Indianapolis who was my roommate, who up until the like second day of classes, he thought that he was going to school to learn how to make beats. He didn't realize that it was like how to record bands and do stuff like that. And it was this white guy who was a mechanic wanting to be DJ who thought he was going to school on how to just produce, not how to record bands. And 90% of the school was how to record like the actual engineering stuff. So the second day he raised his hand, he was like, when do we get into like turntables and stuff? And the professor was like, what are you talking about? Like, we're not doing
that's
that.
Not happening.
He was like, what? He was like flabbergasted that like that's not what he was going to school for.
Right. We did a very small unit on that. Like,
oh, really?
It was, I mean, back in early 2000s, it was like Fruity Loops, like there was Fruity Loops, or you'd use like any one of those like early beat making programs.
Yeah.
And one of the things was we had to re-record some like a hit song with MIDI.
Okay,
one of those.
That's cool.
Yeah, we ended up doing. I wanted to do Strawberry Fields.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't end up doing. I did another Beatles song. I don't even remember, but it was fun.
Wild.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I was in Ohio to intern at a church right after high school because I didn't know what to do for college.
Yeah.
And I came back for like the first holiday back from that, and my family was like, "You have to go to school for something."
Exactly.
And I like play guitar and stuff. They're like, "You should go to school for music," but I was like, "You have to know how to read. Like, you have to be pretty proficient to start at that. So that's not going to happen,
right.
And so I was like, I'll go for sound engineering. So I was looking at like either Full Sail in Florida or Chillicothe, this place.
Right.
Or, in hindsight, I probably should have gone to Full Sail in Florida.
Dude, I mean, those were so expensive. They still are. So, I mean,
they
like
are
full
crazy.
On full colleges.
Yes.
Like, you're paying for all the room and board and all that stuff. I mean, you're paying $30,000 a year to go there.
Exactly.
I mean, they do have a great track record of putting people into the industry.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's such a tough industry to get into.
Yeah.
To like break out into, and you got to be, for lack of a better term, you got to be the bitch for a long time.
For sure.
You're like the guy that wraps cables and sets up mics for like years before you can get behind a board and stuff. So it's like.
When we graduated from the school, it was like 2 months. The last like week of it was mastering. Like the whole class was just on mastering. And so when we graduated, they gave you like a 50-page packet, 8 by 11. Actually, I was just going through like old drawers a couple weeks ago and found this packet.
Yes.
And it was literally just a list of basically everyone at the school's Rolodex of people in the industry across the country.
Wow.
And so, but it was just like name and phone number, not like they're looking for anybody or anything like that. I was living like an hour away from Cincinnati, Ohio at the time.
Right.
I called every single person within like a 2-mile radius.
Are you guys hiring?
No one was hiring or wanted even interns. The only gig that I had available was sound engineer at a Medieval Times in like Middletown, Ohio.
Yes.
It paid, I think, like $8 an hour. There was either weeks pre-production, you would do like pre-show stuff, you would do like 60 hours a week. And then when shows were going on, you'd do like 30 hours a week.
Yeah.
And I would be like the only person. And I was like, I just didn't, first of all, I didn't want that job. Second of all, I didn't feel confident enough to like, if shit hit the fan, to say I know how to fix it.
If anybody ever was like, I'd like a job at Medieval Times.
Dude, there are people. I mean, like we're near like Sterling and all that. Like the Renaissance Fair is huge here. It's huge.
Yeah.
Oh man, I would love to have gone or like to. No, I want to go.
I think I giggled the entire time.
You have to. How could you not giggle the whole time? I mean, you're eating a giant, turkey drumstick, watching people joust and stuff.
I only ever think of the Cable Guy movie.
Yeah.
I remember with Jim Carrey and Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, I feel like that is one of my least favorite Jim Carrey movies.
Yeah.
It gave me nightmares, I think.
It's a little creepy.
Yeah, it's very creepy.
It shows you the extent of his talent, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But so it was that, and then I was on Craigslist. Some sound engineer, some sound mixer guy had an ad that he would run sound for bands. And so I called him up and I said, I saw your ad. I just got out of the recording workshop. I don't don't call it an internship. Just tell me where you're going to be, what time. I'll be there. I'll help you load in and load out, and that's it. You don't have to pay me anything. And he was like, "Oh, he said you just graduated?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I graduated back in '86 from there." So he's like, "I'm going to be at this sports bar doing this band's gig." He just did sound and lighting for him, and Cincinnati is a much larger city. It's the live music scene there is amazing. So, they would pay sound engineers to do their stuff, right? And so I showed up the first night, helped him load in, never met him before in my life. And he then that night, he let me get behind the board and mix, and he paid me at the end of the night. And so I did that for like a year. On weekends, during the week I did commercial construction. On weekends, I would meet him Friday and Saturday nights at like this gas station that was like halfway between where we lived in Cincinnati.
Sketchy gas station.
Right. And I was like 19, 20 years old, and it was great. I would go to these bars until 2 a.m. I would get to smoke cigarettes and drink for free and then listen to live music,
Yeah.
And it was amazing. I got paid for it.
That's the musician's dream.
Oh, yeah, man.
If you can't get into touring, then the weekend gigging is where it's at. You got to have it. I mean, because music doesn't pay.
Yeah, for sure.
Music doesn't pay
at
all. I was a musician for. I mean, I guess I still am. Musician, but
right, yeah.
I was a touring musician for 5 or 6 years.
Oh wow.
So it's like, I mean, I was fortunate to be able to tour around the world and see cool things, but that was my payment.
Yeah,
right. And it's like, and I'm not complaining. It was a great payment. It's a great trade-off when you can, go to Australia and Japan and a lot of Europe. I can't say all of, a lot of Europe. And see the 45 of the lower 48 states.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
But didn't pay me a dime.
Yeah,
not a dime.
I have cousins who still live in Cincinnati who are musicians, and my cousin Daniel married. Her name's Crystal, and she did 2 Disney movies. She did the Princess Diaries. It's the name of the movie with Anne Hathaway.
Yep.
She did like the theme song Supergirl, that was her, and then she did like Country Bears.
That's sick.
But she toured with the Backstreet Boys for their world tour one year. She was their opening act.
No way.
And didn't get paid a dime.
Yep.
because of the contract that her manager had signed. It was just like
Just
a promotional.
the exposure.
So she toured with them and for a world tour with them for an entire year and never got paid for it.
Man, that is the
That's
ultimate.
brutal, 'cause
That's
I mean, it's the Backstreet Boys.
Right.
yeah. They made $400 million
Yeah.
off that tour, and they couldn't throw you.
Right.
I can't get $10.
Yeah. Right.
Give me $10. Maybe she got to eat the food for free.
Yeah.
And it's like that's the promoter's thing. It's like just
Right.
think about the exposure.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
exposure.
Yeah,
it's like,
right.
well,
Yeah.
where did that land her?
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
like she got to that. It was the Disney before.
It was before, so it was like
So, yeah.
her height of her fame. It was like one of like the around the height or during the height of their fame. So I mean, it was like biggest time of her career, you know.
Not a dime. That is
and
the
they didn't get paid anything.
classic.
Yeah,
What a great.
she was in like a
industry.
couple Touched by an Angel episodes, so she's still, I believe, she still gets paid like royalty checks from like that stuff all the time. You know?
$5 a year.
Yeah, right. Like, you know, I think they get like a couple grand a year, but it's
awesome.
like the Disney, you know, Disney shows like Princess Diaries and she's in the songs in it, so she gets
right.
paid, you know.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's the dream right there. Get paid.
That one is the dream. Have residual income from,
Yeah, for sure.
from doing something back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't want that?
But he's like a full-time musician. You know, they had a band. They still have a band, I think, in Cincinnati, and you know, so it's pretty cool what they do. But yeah, well, enough about music. I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about two things I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
One thing was, I know you and I have talked before, like videos we've done for Gear Arts and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I know a little bit about like your history of like getting into the restaurant. But I thought it'd be kind of interesting to like go through that here, but almost like your story, but almost like an instruction of
Sure.
how to open a restaurant,
Sure.
right? And I also want to talk to you about what restaurants pay employees. If we have time for it.
Yeah, I was telling her,
That'd
I
be
was
a
like,
fun
I
one.
really hope we kind of touch on that because
Yeah.
I've been all week. I've
Yeah.
just been freaking out about it and just thinking about it, talking about it, and like,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah.
Now you've got me
Absolutely.
excited. All right, let's talk about that
Yeah,
first.
sure.
Yeah. Actually, Callie, if you want to watch my phone, because somebody's will text when the 7:15 arrives. So if she gets here early, you can just walk out and let her in, and then mark the time so I can delete that part out of the podcast later. So wages for staff right now.
Yep.
So every restaurant is suffering from not having staff, right? And there's extreme cases with it in Syracuse.
Right.
From like Mad Burger, open 2 weeks,
Right. They had to totally close,
completely shut down, may not open up until the fall.
which is unfortunate. I mean,
Right.
they were. As far as I heard and saw, they were
Yeah.
doing well.
Yeah, I mean, we were doing the marketing for her, so she did great the first 2 weeks. Night one, completely sold out of food. You know, next 2 weekends did great, and she only needs 2 employees,
Right.
Which is the
'Cause
crazy
it's all to
part.
go. That's just
Right.
You know, right.
And she had one guy that no call, no showed in the first like week. So,
You had that.
and then her other restaurant, they had to bring the other cook over because they had lost somebody there, and you know, yada yada yada.
Right.
So cases like that, there's like Camino Real and like Mattydale. Mm-hmm. Like they're posting, it seems like every other day, hey, we're just doing takeout because staff didn't show up. Scotch and Sirloin just came in hot water on Where Syracuse Eats because the owner sent out, I get it, but it was still dumb.
Right.
Email saying, we're canceling Mother's Day brunch because we don't have staff because nobody wants to come to work is how he
Right.
phrased it. And of course, he had to mention some stupid like King Cuomo thing. You know, which whatever your view is, why would you send out to like your customer base?
Yeah,
You
no.
know,
I mean, it's a fine line to walk.
Yeah.
Right. Because the opinions are very massive.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody has an opinion, and my thing is that it is. I almost want to be like, who hurt you?
yeah, right.
You know, who hurt you? Who did this to you? You know, like what made you so slighted?
Yeah.
And I get it. Like we all have. I mean, Kiki shared with me
Yeah.
a few stories from her
I'll
past.
tell you why restaurant staff is slighted.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I
it's 100%. It's 100% warranted.
10 of them right now. You know what I mean?
It's a warranted feeling, and that's the worst part is that we're
Yes.
feeling it, and it's warranted. Like
Yeah.
this industry, the way that we like, I say we, it's the royal we. I try not to, right?
Yeah.
I've said many times I don't want to make money off the backs of people without giving, back in return. Like what you've earned, how, what you need to live and to work and to do whatever you need to do. You know what I mean? There's a fine line between that.
Yeah.
I made a post on Facebook. It was a generic, Facebook hiring ad.
Yeah.
And I was viciously attacked by one guy.
Really?
Because the only thing I put in there was the minimum salary, which was $13, which is a little bit more than minimum wage.
Yeah.
And it never said that was the final, I'm going to pay you $13. There's nothing that you can do about it.
Right.
But he took it as that. He was like, you're going to pay $13 for an experienced kitchen worker, and you want them to cook, and you want them to clean. And it's like, that's not what I said. I want experienced people, but if you come to me with no experience, we can give you what you need to learn. Like I used to work at Chipotle.
Yeah.
That's all we did. Chipotle's thing was experience not preferred.
Yeah.
So I know how to work with someone like that and bring you into the industry and teach you everything that you need to know.
Yeah.
And then bringing on somebody like Kiki who has 20 years of experience or more.
Yeah.
We have a lot of resources, but it was viciously attacked. To the point of just keep going and going. After I told him, I was like, that's not what it is.
Yeah.
If you come to me, you have experience, you need a certain amount, let's talk about it. And if you need $16 an hour and you can prove to me that that's, where your skill set is at, I will give that to you.
Yeah.
Like, that is what, we can negotiate.
Right.
But it just, he kept going and kept going and kept going. And at the end, I was like, can you not fucking read? Sorry.
You cuss him, but
it's like, can you not read? Like, we had paragraphs, and then he's showing me, he's like, McDonald's is hiring at $14.75. That's a disgrace to what you're, it's like, dude, I told you this.
Yeah.
And that's
McDonald's makes billions of dollars.
Right.
And then that's the thing.
That you can't. That's oranges and apples.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's just so absurd. And that's what part of the problem is people think a restaurant is a restaurant, and you must make millions of dollars if you have a restaurant.
Yeah.
Which is completely absurd. You know what I mean? Most restaurants don't
in the
turn
negative
a profit
millions of dollars
for the first 3 years before you're into the black. You know what I mean? You spend those 3 years in the red, riding the coattails of your employees and customer base. And that's just the way it is. It's the way it's always been. And it's every restaurant that starts somewhere, McDonald's started off like that, let's face it. It just is turned into a corporate conglomerate, and they can do what they want. They can pay $14.75 an hour to, little Bradley in high school.
Yeah.
But little Bradley in high school is working 15 hours a week. People don't keep that in mind either.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? They're not paying somebody $14.75 an hour that's 18 years old, and they're not putting in 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're putting in part-time. They work Friday and Saturday nights.
Yeah.
So, I can give you $15 an hour because by the end of the week, you've made $200 anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people don't consider that either. You know? The difference between what it is to be a well-established restaurant and what it is to be a new guy like Dev or, many of the other restaurants. And that's just the unfortunate breakdown of it is people don't know that.
Yeah.
People don't.
Yeah, they don't get it. I mean, if you've been in the industry for 20 years, you should be paying your people well, right? Because you should have people that have been there for a long time, like career people that you've had that have helped you a long time, so they should have gotten raises and stuff like that. But if you're, we just hit our 2-year mark. Yeah. So I learned from the first round of employees that I can't pay everyone a living wage. I mean, I can't pay them, I don't want to say that. We can pay them a living wage, right, but I can't give them all 40 hours. Yeah. I can't give them all, I can't be shelling out, $600, $700 per employee per week. Yeah. It's just not in the game for me because we're still building clientele, and then just coming off the backs of the pandemic. Yeah. Now people, it's I say this and I've been saying it for a week, and every time I'm like, yeah, this is, it's like we went from support local, to fuck you, pay me like that. And it's like, I get it. I want to pay people, Yeah. But it's like everybody's like, I've been in the industry for so long and, support these local restaurants. And then it's like, yeah, but if you want me to come back, you better be paying me $20 an hour. Yeah. And it's like, I can't do 20, but like, what can we settle on that works? So I actually made a post a couple days ago from my personal page, and then I retweeted it or whatever you want to call it from the
The business page.
Business page, and it was just asking, what would you prefer? Would you rather have like a flat out salary, $16 an hour, no nothing else, right? Just cash, paycheck, whatever. Or would you rather like a slightly lower one, and I figure out how to give benefits, because if we go through Square, so Square payroll and all that stuff, you have access to benefits and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
And even before that, I went through a payroll company, and they, even ADP and all of those, they offer small business benefits. The thing with those benefits is they often are expensive for the individual, no matter what, because they try to get you into this group, and it's like, they take, company A, B, and C and put them into this group, and then they kind of get the better benefits that you can afford that are afforded to the larger companies, which is why, the large chains can give you, health coverage for $5 a paycheck.
Right.
Whereas ours would probably be like $15, $20 a paycheck. And that's a lot for the person that's going to work for us.
Yeah.
Also with small business medical, the deductible is extremely high. Like $250 for a doctor's
the deductibles
appointment
are huge, and the premiums are high and all that stuff. And it's tough. So like, what other benefits could we offer?
Yeah.
And we were talking about that, and it's, what do people want? Do you want paid sick time? Do you want paid time off, accrued paid time off?
Yeah.
How do we implement that at the small level where it makes sense? Is it said do it because you hire someone, and then where we're at is like we hired someone, worked for a week, and then just flaked out on us.
Yeah.
Didn't even show up for the brunch that we had. That was part of like the initial like, hey, we're hiring. This is what we have coming up. And then the day before was like, yeah, I'll pick, come pick me up.
I went to go pick the kid up. Ghosted.
Not even a kid. The dude, he's been in the industry.
Grown man. Yeah, he's a grown man.
Holy cow. Yeah, it's there's no question it's rough out there. Now, I feel like I'm sure it's true. I'm not, and I've been wanting to try and like figure out a way to dive in, because I'm just curious to figure out like what are the statistics, like how many people are currently claiming unemployment that are identifying as somebody who's like from the restaurant industry. Mm-hmm. Or I know we have a client who during the pandemic, when everything was shut down because they were in an orange zone, as they started to open back up, or it was before orange zone, it was like the first shutdown as they started to open back up. The owner was saying that a lot of their staff went and got jobs at Target and Wegmans and Walmart. Yep. And so they just they realized, I don't have to work like late nights and run around on my feet all the time.
Right. And I think that's what the big problem here is, that it's shed a light on a situation that was previously kept in the dark. And that's honestly the environment of the restaurant business.
Yeah.
People don't know what goes on in the back of the house.
Yeah.
How demanding the job really is.
Yeah.
How many owners take advantage of restaurant staff.
Yeah.
You get hired for a 40-hour-a-week job, and you end up working 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
And you don't sleep. You don't eat properly. You get run ragged.
Yeah.
And as somebody who's been doing this for 20-plus years, I have been run ragged completely.
Yeah.
I've worked at 25 different restaurants, maybe 3 owners who've treated me properly. And that's being generous.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. You're expected to work your tail feather off for slave wages. You're there anywhere from 10 to 14 to 16 hours a day. When I worked at the Pompadour in New York City, I worked 16-hour days, 6 days a week. There were cots, there were lofts above the restaurant where you could go take a nap. There were so many immigrants in the kitchen that had nowhere to live, that they lived in the lofts above the restaurant. And those are just things, people just don't know what goes on.
Yeah.
They just really don't. It's, 10, 12 hours on your feet.
Yeah.
You don't sit, the only time you sit down is when you go potty, if you get to go potty that day. And that's just the brutal reality of it. And people being paid a living wage on unemployment turns out to be more money than what you made working those 60, 70 hours of brutal labor.
Yeah, which is the tragic part.
It is, because here's the deal. You might make right now $500 a week on unemployment. and that's maybe exactly what you made at the restaurant you worked at.
Yeah.
But then Uncle Sam takes his bite of your paycheck, and now your paycheck's $350.
Yeah.
And you worked your ass off.
Right.
Or I could sit on my ass and make that and make that $500.
Yeah. Plus the extra from the federal
Plus
government
the extra
right
from
now.
the federal. So now that's $800.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So for me to make $800 at a restaurant, I'd have to be making $21.75 an hour. I'd have to be working 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's where the light has been shed on the fact that we have discovered a living wage.
Right.
Amongst us. We've never had one before. So, you screwed yourself.
Yeah.
Because they didn't do the math on that. It's because it wasn't known.
Yeah.
You didn't know that by paying people living wage,
right.
And,
it would fuck over all
they
these
were going to fuck a whole industry.
Yeah. I know a chef who's on unemployment and been career in the local industry in restaurants, currently on unemployment, and I have personally offered him for other 5 different jobs, and he's turned every single one of them down. Now he doesn't say, you know what, I'm just gonna stay home and watch TV for $20
we haven't been
an hour.
home
Right.
in 20 years.
Right.
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
for sure.
I don't 20 years of TV.
I don't know my children like I should know my children.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't there for them. Because I was in somebody else's restaurant.
Yeah.
Working my ass off to make up because I was a single mother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
right.
you pay daycare and rent and clothe and feed them.
Yeah.
I never got to see them, but that's another reality of it. Is,
yeah.
Oh, home is cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I have nice stuff I paid for.
I bought all this awesome stuff that I got.
All this stuff I never touched.
That I got
before.
to enjoy for the 4 hours that I was home,
right.
and then went
when
to
it
bed.
came in the Amazon box,
right.
and then I went to bed and went back to work, and I never saw the thing again. And that's the fact is rediscovering who you are and what life is actually about, and you've not had that opportunity. So it's like what happens when you let somebody out of prison. You know?
Right.
They repeat offending. You know what I mean? Because you go crazy. So people don't want back into that when they've had a taste of what it's like to be with your family and what it's like to take a nap.
There was somebody was sharing around the MIT, I think it was MIT thing, right? You see that the calculator for that's
what I posted.
Oh, you posted, okay. And if you're a single parent and you have a kid, your livable wage jumps
$30.
Yeah,
$30 an hour.
It's crazy
because it's an entire other human being.
Right.
It's double.
Yeah. I mean, and
you have a shit.
That's for Onondaga County.
Yeah. Oh, was it really?
Yeah, that's Onondaga County. So it's like $14.27 for a single.
That's pretty rough,
right? $14.27 for a single, individual.
Yeah.
And then once you have a kid, that is $30 an hour.
And a lot of,
that's 2 jobs. I mean,
I'm not going to say a majority of people in the industry are probably single parents, but you have a pretty shitty life if you are a lifer in the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
Right. We have a client. I've been with him for years. Has a really popular restaurant in Syracuse, and he's older. He's just kind of done. He doesn't. He's got whatever. So he said he called me up a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "Why don't you and Rebecca think about buying the restaurant from us?" Wow. He's like, "We'll make it easy. We'll hold the note. All that kind of stuff." And I'm like, "There's no fucking way, dude." It's like I don't like. I like my life. I'm not about to fucking go sit in a restaurant for. All right, I'm not gonna go sit in a restaurant for 14 hours a day. Are you kidding me? It's not gonna.
I do that every day.
Right.
I think, why in the fuck did I do this? Why? What was I thinking? I could work for someone. I could stay in the corporate world and make $70,000 a year, and you're still working.
Yeah,
I must have been somebody really bad.
Stole the Limburg, baby.
What is it like? Like you come back as like you come back as like a dog if you had like a bad life, or a snake or something.
Yeah, I'm coming back.
You came back as. I wonder what's worse.
Yeah, ooh, that's the lowest of the low. It's like it's a very sadistic word. Like you must not like yourself. I must not like myself because of what I did.
I must be a sadist to continue on this.
Yeah. It's
horrifying path. I mean, I love what I do. Don't get me wrong, but it is it's absolutely all consuming.
Yeah.
Consuming.
It's very rewarding, right? The in my opinion, the rewards do outweigh the risk.
Yeah.
But I mean, the biggest risk is, to me as an owner, is the finances. You know, like, it's taken such a toll on all of my finances, and it's just like, but money comes and goes.
Yeah.
You know, you only get a certain amount of opportunities to live a dream, and this has been it's been a dream of mine forever to own a restaurant. You know, so I just took the plunge. I did it. You know, and I've been lucky enough to find some great people to come and help me and to get us in a better spot. And it's been great, but it's still like, you know, how can we make it so that these people do want to come back? How can we make it? Because, you know, $20 an hour, if for my restaurant, is not feasible. Yeah. So how can I work my way up to that, or to get you to work with the incentives? So what incentives do you need?
Yeah.
You know, is it benefits? Is it like, not, you know, guaranteed raises, but a review where you could possibly get a raise, like the big corporations do. I would sit down with my employees every quarter, you know, and what do you get? You know, 20-cent raises, right? You know, but, like, you know, real raises, like 50, you know, to 75, $1. Like, what, you know, what are things that are necessary for you to keep going? Yeah. You know, what is a cap that we can come up with that says, like, you know, because I can't eventually maybe pay someone $25 an hour, but, like, where do we meet
just feel
these?
Like none of that's going to end until this unemployment expires.
Well, and what the thing is,
there's that, but, like, the other, like, there's no question minimum wage is a fucking joke.
Right? Oh, absolutely. 100%.
I mean, I have a buddy who lives in Atlanta who's like, he gets minimum wage at Home Depot, and I was like, and he's married with a kid, and he was like, he's getting paid because minimum wage in Georgia is like $9.
I was gonna say it's like $8.25.
I was like, oh my God, are you? It was like, that's what you make? Like, how is that possible? You know, and he like plays like bass and like church bands and stuff on weekends, and in Atlanta, you know, they pay you to do that, right? Absolutely. So he can make stuff up that way, but minimum wage even here, even though the cost of living in Syracuse isn't crazy, I mean, it's far cheaper in other places, but it's not like crazy expensive here, right? It's still not enough money. It's New York State minimum wage to really live off of.
I mean, it's $12.50 right now for New York State. I mean, the worst part is that the federal is still what, $7.50 or less?
Is it really?
Yes, that's why places like Georgia and the states can offer $9 because the federal, as long as you don't plummet below the federal minimum wage, you're good to go.
That's crazy.
You can offer, like, I'm sure there's guaranteed you'll go to like
the minimum wage hasn't been raised in like 25 years.
Yeah,
that's nuts.
$7.50 or something like that. $7.40, I think, or $7.25. Whatever, $7. And that's, you know, we're lucky. And I was thinking about this the other day. We're lucky enough that New York State actually had that program where they raised it from it's at $8, $9 to incrementally every year to where it is right now. And it's New York City had to have been up to $15 or $15 now in 2020, so last year. And then the rest of the state has to catch up, you know, incrementally year by year. So we're still at $12.50 or $12.50, and then next year it'll be $13.50, $14.50. You know, and then the last one, so 2024, I think, is when we'll hit 15.
This is such a privileged thing to say, but I could not imagine living in New York City and making $15 an hour.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
Like, and I think back like 2 years ago to the owners that were bitching about minimum wage is going to go up another $1 next year, and it's like, look at where we're at today. I mean, people are turning down $20 an hour jobs in restaurants.
People are turning down $30 an hour to work at the Krebs. He was Adam Weitzman was offering $30 an hour for a head chef position to come and work for 2 weeks.
That's insane.
And then you're absolved of that, you know, responsibility.
Wow.
Yeah, but then you lose your unemployment.
Well, exactly.
So you couldn't offer me enough
because you're not
for 2 weeks.
You
could pay me $40 an hour. But then at the end of them 2 weeks, I'm screwed again.
Because
I'm going to go, because small businesses can't offer me the money I need to be making. I would make more on unemployment.
Right.
And I mean, that's
now the other side to it is this. It is extremely expensive to go out to eat right now. I mean, it's another privileged thing to fucking say, but there's so few restaurants. I don't know what you've done with the menu, but there's so few restaurants that haven't raised their menu prices exponentially lately. I mean, I was just talking to an owner. They're one of the few that I know in downtown, paying all their cooks $19 an hour, saying, I have no idea what I'm going to do in 6 months when unemployment's done and people are back to go, all that kind of stuff. What am I going to do in a year when that person started at 19 and they expect a raise, but I'm not going to give them a raise because they're making 19. But they said, we haven't raised our menu prices at all, even though we're paying people $19 an hour. And it's expensive to go out to eat right now. There's no question about that. I mean, Rebecca and I go out like maybe twice a week. And each time I'm like, holy freaking shit. And then there's some owners who are like nickel and diming. It's like there's a credit card fee. There's a takeout container fee. There's a you sat down and had dinner fee. There's a
I've been reading the Where Syracuse Eats, and now those are hot button issues.
Right now. Yeah.
And it's there. Everybody
nationally. Price has gone up 20%.
Yeah, I mean,
nationally,
the raw
the price has gone up almost.
Chicken wings,
yes.
Chicken wing shortage all over the country,
right.
and that it's not even that they're it's the animal shortage, it's the worker shortage in the processing plants or the processing plants that had to close down because of COVID.
COVID cesspools. Those lines. In factories.
Yeah. Some of those places,
you're right up each other's behinds.
Yeah.
So it wiped out entire staffs in meat packing plants and chicken processing plants. So, I mean, this is the trickle down of that, of what happened.
But so here's the caveat of that is that at the Brine Well, we try to get as much local as possible.
Yeah.
And my local meat prices have not jumped a dime.
Really?
Not a dime in 2020.
Wow.
I mean, very little, if anything, but it's been the same. I don't have to worry about it. They're processing it locally. They are raising it locally. They're buying feed locally. So it's like, the only thing, the big thing are the people who are buying from Cisco and Renzi and the big suppliers that are buying beef from the Midwest where they had all these issues. Yeah. And the chicken, I mean, I have a chicken supplier. I'm not going to say where it is so nobody can get them all the chicken. But, they're relatively local. They're out of, Rochester. And it's like, the chicken price there is phenomenal, and it's not gone up much, if any. Wow. I can still get the same size, the same price, the same quality tender that we've been getting, so it's like.
Yeah. My thing is, yes, there's the, the people that are buying from Cisco and all those places. But, the issue I do have, I mean, I agree, and it's hard for me because on one side, I'm like, minimum wage is not enough. Right. I mean, my wife and I are fortunate. We both have great jobs. We don't get worked to death by any, we work 9 to 5, get paid well, all that kind of stuff. I know minimum wage isn't enough, especially if you're a parent, if you have other people you have to take care of. Even if you're a single person with no kids or responsibilities or pets, minimum wage still sucks. Yeah. Really, what the hell are you going to do with a life on minimum wage? So I know that people have to get paid more than that. But at the same time, I feel like I'm noticing it locally with prices going up, is that as restaurants are paying workers more money, especially exponentially more right now because of the pandemic and unemployment, and they're raising their prices, they're charging all these stupid hidden fees because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. And it's so expensive. And the cost of everything is just going to continue to go up. Look at the cost of fucking houses right now.
Well, that's another thing with it right there is people are making, $500 a week. It's $2,000 a month. Your rent's $1,000 a month.
It's half your
so
paycheck,
what are you doing now? What are you doing now? You ain't spent
I think
$100 a week on groceries. Now we're down to $6. I pay the NIMO bill. Now we're down to $3. Yeah. Transportation, car payments. It's just you can't get ahead of it. You can't get ahead of the game. You'll never have savings. You just can't do anything.
It's the cost of housing that is really driving everything up. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not in that market, so I don't know. Is the cost of living really $1,500 at these places, or is it this massive, crazy markup? Yeah. It's so tough. And the only way, I mean, the restaurant industry, the margins are so slim.
Yeah.
So slim. Like, and I know that it sounds shady to say, but they really are very slim.
Yeah.
And the profits aren't going into my pocket.
Yeah.
The profits are going back into the restaurant. And that's
Right.
no matter what level you're at.
Yeah.
You know, so if your profits are going back into now your costs, so you have the third rule is really what it kind of plays out to in most restaurants. You have a third for your food cost, a third for your labor, and the rest of it's profit.
Yeah.
But again, that profit is not profit.
It's
it goes
overhead.
Yeah, it's overhead.
Right.
It goes back into all of your stuff because I mean the overhead is rent and heat and electric and gas and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's again going up exponentially. Actually, just read an article that was saying that talking about gas prices and how the cost of natural gas and all of that stuff is actually going to go up 23%.
Yeah.
So where's that going to leave the restaurant industry when all of us? That's all we do is we use natural gas. Everything in the restaurant runs on natural gas. Especially those people using massive ovens.
Yeah.
My flat top is run the entire day, which is all natural gas, our fryers, all of that stuff. So it's like,
yeah, they were talking about like gas shortages this summer because of everybody traveling. I don't know what the hell to think. I mean, I was saying it 2 years ago on the podcast. It's like everybody I interviewed, I was asking, like I always have to say this first. I'm a fucking idiot. I was homeschooled and raised in Kentucky, so I am very stupid. Okay, I don't know what I'm talking about. Having said that, I'm obsessed with the movie The Big Short. Mm-hmm. That obviously makes me an expert in what I'm about to say.
Of course, yes.
But I watched that. Like when I want to get like entrepreneurial and like think of ways, I watch that. Money, like stuff like that. So, anyways, I'm watching the movie.
Jay's in that movie.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's true. Some of the things that they're talking about, like the historical facts of 2008 are true. And that is, the, average income in America was kind of stagnant at the time. The housing prices had jumped up exponentially at the time. And the defaults on mortgages had jumped up exponentially at the time, right? It was like 1%, 2%, and all of a sudden it jumped to like 8%. So I'm watching that a couple months ago. I'm like, all right, let me kind of investigate, see where we're at now in America. Average income has jumped by like $10,000 a year in the past like year or two. Housing prices gone up exponentially, obviously, since the pandemic. I mean, my house, I live in the city. Our house we bought for like $73,000, small house. Last year we just wanted to see. Agent said, "Oh, you could sell it for like $90,000 right now." It's like, my house isn't worth $90,000. My house will never be worth that much money. You are high if you think that I could sell my house for that much money. And so obviously that's up. But then mortgage defaults are at like 4 or 5%. So we're not really at that point yet for there to be some like massive collapse. But it's got to fucking come.
It's inevitable.
I mean, we were at like 8-year cycles. 2008 was a 12-year cycle. 2020 was another 12-year. We were at the 12-year mark, 2019. And then the fucking pandemic happened. And,
the only way that we're going to get out of this is if Dogecoin hits $1.
Listen, if Dogecoin hits $1, I'll move into the bigger studio over there.
I sold all my Dogecoin the second it dropped again, and now I'm kind of kicking myself because I bought it at 4 cents, and I would have had like $8,000 from the first investment, but I'm an idiot.
I was talking to my wife about this tonight. This is why I feel like I'm an idiot, and I know nothing about any of this. But I follow like Gary Vaynerchuk, and one of the biggest things about Gary Vaynerchuk is with his platform, he can he can sell whatever he wants, right? Like millions of people follow him and listen to his stuff. So his like favorite number is 5. He's always holds up when he gets his picture taken. So and he's like been getting really big into NFTs lately, and so he's saying that on 5/5, May 5th. He's releasing this big thing, huge thing, NFTs, long term. You're going to win all this, it's going to be a great investment, all this bullshit, whatever. But the only way to buy whatever he's going to release on 5/5 is going to be with ETH, with Ethereum tokens. Now, I was listening to this like 2-3 weeks ago when he started talking about it, thinking to myself, like, well, this is fucking bullshit. Like, it's an NFT, you know, like, what is he going to do? Release some stupid NFT that he created and, like, you buy it for, you know, $1,000 ETH and hope that one day it converts into something. It's like, that's dumb. And everything he says 20 times a day, it's on 5.5 drop, got to buy your ETH, make sure you're ready. Here's how to, you know, create a crypto wallet, all this kind of stuff. So I'm like, every time he's talking about it, I'm thinking like, what is it going to drop? What NFT is going to be so big, you know? And I'm like, just trying to figure out like I kind of want to be involved with it, but I'm not going to go spend $1,000 on Ethereum, right? So for some fucking NFT, that's going to be stupid. It'll be like a picture of Gary, you know? So I'm in Robinhood, like looking at my Dogecoin and like my Apple stock, and I realize Ethereum in the past fucking 3 weeks has jumped from like $900 a token up to like $3,400 a token
because he keeps hyping.
I'm sure it's not the majority is because of him, but his millions of followers are all going out there buying their Ethereum.
That's the Dogecoin thing with Elon Musk.
Right. Yeah.
He keeps talking about it. Doge and Doge and Doge. And that's the driving factor behind it. And then it became a thing where it was the Reddit, you know, the whole, you know, with GameStop and all that stuff. Yeah. And now, you know, and then it jumped into Dogecoin. And they're like, well, we can make a ton of money if we just push and push and push and push. I mean,
it's crazy.
It is. It really is. Like where we're at right now with the stock market manipulation, that's what it is. It's manipulation.
Yeah, right.
It's fucked.
Yeah.
It's going to collapse and we're all fucked. That's going to lead to all these other collapses and it sucks. But, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And all we can do is be along for the ride, I guess, and watch it happen real time.
Well, I'm going to ask you this question, and that is, I mean, it's a little different. You're a restaurant. You know, you guys don't have table service and that kind of stuff. Right. I was just talking to Zach about this the other day, and I was like, you know, listen, if cost of labor continue, you know, if you really are going to have to pay people $20 an hour to come wait tables, then why aren't people just going to go to automation faster in local restaurants, right? So, I mean, for you, for employment issues, what do you think is like the next thing? Do you think it's just like this is what we're at until September and hopefully the extra $300 goes away and people come back to work?
Well, we've been talking about that, and the reality is yes, unemployment's going to dry up and go away.
Yeah.
People are going to need the jobs, and it's unfortunate, but the people who are getting in the game now and saying, you know what, I will take that $15, $16, $17, $18 are going to get it. They're going to hold, and I can't cut your wages later.
Right.
I can't say, oh, I hired you at 15, so now you're going to work for 13 in a year.
Yeah.
You can't do that. So they're going to stay at that wage.
Yeah.
And the people who are going to be needing a job when this is all over are going to have to take jobs at lower wages.
Yeah.
And that's across the board.
Yeah.
Like that's not just the restaurant industry.
Right.
That's everywhere because you're going to need a job.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the reality of it. And where we sit is, I was saying during the pandemic, I would almost rather have just a takeout business.
Yeah,
it's much less overhead. You know, our business is already like Panera style ordering. You know, if the fast casual come up to the counter, order, go sit down, I'll bring it out to you. So we're working with 4 staff right now.
Yeah.
We can get through our busiest days that we've ever seen with 4 people. Mm-hmm. It would be great to have more just for days off.
Right.
Right. But like, you know, I don't know what else we can do to cut the costs.
Yeah.
Is really where it's at. But a lot of the platforms,
the way people and staff in restaurants are paid anyway is totally convoluted. Yeah. There's no way that, you know, Becky should on Friday and Saturday night make more than me. I'm the head chef.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And Becky's the waitress.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and it
she's
comes
worked here for 2 weeks and she just walked out of here with $800 on a Saturday night.
Oh,
and that's
and you know what? I've been here 70 hours this week, and once Uncle Sam takes a bite of my paycheck, I'm gonna have like $650.
You know, a buddy of mine was telling me his girlfriend who like 9 to 5 is like a CPA or something.
Yeah.
Right.
She works 3 nights a week at a downtown bar, bartending and making, and it's not like a late night place, making like $800 in tips in the week.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
That's insane. And that's
the person that works the least in the restaurant is making the most money.
At the busier restaurants, I have no sympathy and I know this is going to sound very asshole-ish, and again, it maybe plays into, my whatever, but I feel no bad that you get paid $4 an hour, but leave that night with $500 in tips, because are you going to claim those tips? Be real. Are you going to claim those tips?
Right.
No.
Yeah.
You're going to claim the $5 that I paid you. I mean, I'm not paying you. I don't have service, but I can't. You can't feel bad for that.
Yeah.
And then I feel bad for the places that don't do well, and the waitresses are busting their asses and having to do a lot extra work, but they're still making that wage.
Yeah.
But fortunately, in New York State, if you have a waitress and they get paid $4 an hour, the tipped wage, waiter, waitress, whatever, host, whatever, you have to make up that wage for any, if their wages don't, if their tips don't equal out to be minimum wage, $12.50 an hour, then you have to make up that wage.
Yeah.
So there is that caveat, but I've had friends, and I hate when I hear it.
Yeah.
I only made $200 in tips tonight. Bro, I worked for 8 hours and I made $50. You worked for 3 and made $200 in tips.
You brought the food to the table.
Yeah,
I prepped it, cooked it,
and
executed it. I've been here since noon. You came in here at 5
that
o'clock to 8
also
o'clock
highlights
$600.
That also highlights one of the things in the restaurant industry is tips are not dispersed throughout the entire restaurant.
Right.
They are for Becky, the waitress, who did, and she gets to keep all of that.
Yeah.
When the reality of it, yes, she had to deal with you. Maybe you're an asshole. Maybe you asked for 400 drinks. Maybe you sent your food back. Maybe you had to do this. Maybe you were a complete and utter asshole to her. But those tips went straight to her and not even shared to the kitchen, who had to remake her food, who had to stock up, refill up that soda fountain, who had to, make the milkshake again, who had to do all that stuff.
Right.
That's another thing, is that the tip sharing needs to be a bigger thing.
I've always thought that everybody in the restaurant that works in front of the house, back of the house, makes the same exact amount of money. If the wage in here is $14 an hour, Becky makes 14, I make 14, my dishwasher makes 14, and the tips go through the house.
So if that one
whoever's on staff that night,
that one waitress is making $200 and split out between 5 people, that's a good chunk of extra money for every single person in that restaurant.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge problem, is that pay waitresses and waiters and stuff like that the same living wage and split all of the tips throughout the whole house, and that will make you have so much better of a staff, especially your back of the house people who are used to not getting that.
Right.
That is another incentive that restaurants could offer. I split my tips throughout the whole restaurant. It's not just the people on the front of the house. It's everybody gets tips. And that's one thing that it's like, where do we come up to the understanding of these are all the fair things that we can offer? Am I going to offer everyone $15, $16 an hour plus paid time off plus paid sick time? So if you are sick, we can't risk it anymore.
Right.
You come into the restaurant sick. What if it's COVID variant that's now going to get all of us sick, even though we're all, vaccinated? And then you get our customers sick, and then and it's a spiral out. That's going to hurt your business more by not offering sick time than it is to, offer a little bit bigger of a wage.
You don't. There is no such thing as calling in sick.
Right.
You're throwing up in the back of the house.
I have quite literally worked on plenty of lines where there's Joe Blow's puking in the garbage can at the end of the line. I got snot around my nose because I have the flu. And you're just expected to work. There is no, because you're so intricate to that. A restaurant, it doesn't run unless it's running like a well-oiled machine. And when you got a missing gear, the whole thing is,
I think one of my all-time favorite memes, because I love memes, and this is 2021, and we all love memes, is it's restaurant owners in New York State be like, and it's like this guy quite literally fishing somebody out of an avalanche. And they're like, the caption is, "Are you still coming to work today?" And that's legitimately that is. You said you worked in the Poconos, right?
Oh yeah.
You said you worked in the Poconos, and they have that. She knows that when it snows, don't expect your crew to come in.
How can they? We're in a resort on a mountain. Okay, when it's a snowstorm, you get 8 feet of snow. And the owner would be on top of me as the head chef. Well, you got to get your staff in there. Well, what am I supposed to do? Go dig them out of a snowstorm? This is, you have to be, I think there's a lot of unrealistic thought processes. I think a lot of restaurant owners have never worked a day in a kitchen.
Yeah.
You don't know what it actually entails to run a kitchen, to be in a kitchen. People don't leave. It becomes, there's this culture almost where it's my fault that you don't have restaurants.
Yeah.
And I should feel guilty because I need to go to the doctor's office, or I have to call in sick because my kid's not going to school.
Yeah.
I don't, you don't pay me enough to pay a babysitter to watch my sick kids.
Yeah.
That's whether corporate or, small restaurant owner. There are so many owners out there that I've, not that I know personally, but that I've heard of. They never worked in the restaurant industry before that, and they came into some money, or they're like a lawyer, doctor. They just have a ton of money, and they're like, I'm going to open a restaurant.
I'm a chef. I'm not going to open a muffler shop. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Yeah. If you don't have any... You have no
business in that.
Business.
Yeah, you can have but that's the thing. It's like there's idea guys, and then you hire someone who does it, but then you put all this extra, stuff on them, and that's how you end up cycling through this nonsense. Like, you can throw as much money as you want at something, but it doesn't make it great.
Right.
Like, I can make $80,000 a year, but I'm also working 60, 70, 80, 90 hours a week.
Yeah.
And that just made my $70,000 incrementally not.
Like
or now you can't spend it.
Yeah, now I have no time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I know, Kiki, we're going to have you on because Zach and I are hoping to do a podcast. Well, Zach's going to do the podcast. We're going to release it. It's going to be called, hopefully it happens, it's going to be called Crying and the Walk-In.
Yes.
And told me about that.
Oh, okay,
I'm excited
good.
for it.
Yeah, so it's going to be like the guests will be, the stories they tell won't be detailed names and places, but so that way we save people.
Absolutely.
But I'm sure after 20 years, you've got some horror stories that you can share on that one. So.
The first things I said when I met Deb was, such a small, restaurant, kitchen small. And took a look around, and I said, well, where am I supposed to cry?
Yeah.
We don't have a walk-in to crying, so we do all of our crying right there in front of everyone.
Everybody. Open kitchen.
Like
you can see my tears.
Yeah, quite literally, I'm walking around, I'm like, what the fuck? And, the customers, I'm like, no, seriously, what the fuck? Like, what, like, you are now part of this. I'm going to now complain to you, and you're going to talk about this.
That's awesome. Well, thank you both for coming in, being on. I appreciate it. We'll have to have you come back down because I do want to go through, like, the history of the that'd be fun.
Let me know whenever.
For sure. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.